This tank had an outbreak of calamanus worms. These are the most annoying worms I can think of. The fish are cleared. I used some antiparasitic medicines, but I'm going to move them to a temporary 20-gallon tank, dose them again with some more expel P, and I'm going to make sure that these worms are really expelled for good. And to do that, I'm just going to go scorched earth on this tank. Welcome to the next video. In this one, I'm going to rebuild this 32-gallon Amazon tank. Now, I found perfect driftwood the other day in the store, shaped a little bit like a ray gun. In the butt of the gun, or the bottom of the handle of the gun, I'm going to drill some holes. And then I'm going to use the media bag and some fishing line. And I'm going to thread the fishing line all the way through both layers of the mesh. And then I'm going to fill up the mesh bag with some lava rocks. I'm going to use the fishing line to tie up the handle of the ray gun to the bag to create a weight. And then the next thing is breaking down the riparium. It was pretty quick and pretty easy to do, but stressful both for me and for the fish. Tank is ready to be stripped down. The fish are safely moved to the 20-gallon. I'll be adding some more water to it. Hopefully they will calm down soon. I put the driftwood from the old tank in there. I figure I'm going to be moving the fish anyway, so the driftwood will stay behind while the fish will move, and hopefully the parasites won't be following us. So now this is kind of draining, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and then I will move on to breaking this one down, and then I'm preserving the plants in the water. I'm going to use this impressive palm and this plant here, which I forgot the name of. These two actually really worked out. I think I might get rid of the gold ribbon. I'm going to be treating the fish for parasites and maybe bacteria once they calm down, so maybe tomorrow. The media will be mature, and I'm just going to switch this filter to this tank, while this filter, the parasitic filter, is going to be neutralized. I have new sponges. I'm going to get rid of the media, but for now I'm just going to use this media in the quarantine tank. And then I played with some other wood to make a structure a little bit more interesting and to create more hiding spots for the fish. But in the end, I just ended up with a very simple sort of arrangement. So I removed everything and decided to just secure the wood a little bit more with some rocks before I added some other very simple pieces of wood. So the marasine caused some ammonia spike in this holding tank, so I had to quickly remove all the organic matter like driftwood, and I needed to run a filter with some activated carbon, do a little bit of water change, and then ammonia was under control. So that was quite an easy way to make an oopsie that would cost me some fish. I'm glad I caught it in time. And another mistake I discovered as I was dismantling the substrate was that I used some activated carbon in the substrate. It's a mistake because activated carbon absorbs chemicals and poisons, but when it reaches its capacity, it starts leaching them out. And I think that was what caused the sickness in the fish. And that was the last piece of wood that I added. So as you can see, I really simplified it. I went with just one major piece of wood and then one smaller. For substrate, I used active soil, pond soil with a lot of beneficial ingredients that are already included. So I did not add any more clay or any other substances because this soil is supposed to be well balanced. If I added more clay, for example, it would be loaded with more iron that I need. Too much iron causes the aquarium to develop string algae, which happened in my other tanks. And I added some root tabs from API just to boost it, and some nice store-bought sand, very nice color, kind of a yellow ochre, natural color of the sand. It's cloudy, but filter quickly removes all these dust particles later. It's recommended to rinse the sand, but there's really no foreign substances in the sand. It's just the fine particles of the sand itself that are floating in the air and in the water, but they settle down and get filtered. And then I used some coarser sand on top and some pea gravel. I like those because they hold the plants in place a lot better. And the fish are quite impatient, and mistake was averted. It was time to fill up with water, and I decided to fill it up kind of shallow because I figured fish swim horizontally and I didn't want them to jump out. And I thought that the water line would be nice for the plants to just be situated so that the roots are just submerged in water. And then plucking the plants into the gaps was a breeze. I really enjoyed this process. It was really not much to do. It was perfectly fitting. And then I realized that I probably need a little bit more build-up on top to hold the plants better and also to hide some of the parts of where the plant is kind of meeting the wood and make it a little bit more natural. And then I ran some polishing floss and some, I think that first thing was a surface skimmer, and then the other thing was activated carbon filter, just to make sure that all the chemical substances I don't need in the aquarium are absorbed by the carbon. but I'm not using carbon all the time. After trimming some of the long roots, I inserted more plants. That rattlesnake plant is just magnificent. And for now, I just have these two kinds of plants, and then I will be adding a little bit more. Right, there are some things I've done when you weren't looking. I installed the auto top-off system. It's a little bit ugly, but I like this option because it doesn't glow like the other ones. And I added a little bit of the driftwood to just make it look more presentable. Some of these things will have to be fixed. Little ugly glue spots with some moss. Other than that, here's a proof that setting up an aquarium is a series of tasks that are interlocking and affect one another. So for example, I set up the depth of the water, but then I realized that it will be too shallow for the lily pipe, so I have to add maybe, I don't know, 2.5 gallon to make sure that the lily pipe doesn't gargle. And that also means that I will have to lift up the plants so that the line of the roots is higher, so that the stems don't rot. So it seems like the tank is almost ready, except I still need to switch the filters. So the big filter goes into the catfish tank. It's a small tank, big filter. And then the slightly smaller filter will be powering my 32 gallon, which is plenty. This filter is graded for probably like twice as large an aquarium. And it's almost time to move the fish. I didn't wait that long because I figured the water will be ready. Filter was mature. There was a lot of beneficial bacteria in the roots of the plants. So I added some snails to jumpstart the cycle if there was a cycle needed. And I just did some cosmetic work covering the glue spots with some dry leaves. I added some creeping plants too. And got some plants from PetSmart. So that plant didn't survive. It was supposed to be a terrarium plant, but I think it likes to be in the soil. It did not grow hydroponically. And then I got some nice swords from PetSmart, or maybe it may have been Petco. Amazon swords, very healthy ones. And I plant them exactly where the mesh bags with soil were placed, and it really did help to have the footage from this very video just to see where the planting should be. And I know that there's a gap in the middle, but I'm going to use it for some more plant matter like leaf litter, maybe some botanicals. And I want the fish to have both of the best worlds, a lot of swimming room and a lot of hiding spots. I really love these creeping figs. And this stick is not waterlogged yet, but I'm not going to bother with fixing it yet. I'm just going to let it float. When it's ready to dip, it's going to dip. And I cooked some tea out of leaves. And I also did some treatment. This is my sick apistogramma, while the other fish were being moved to the tank. So that part, when the fish are still stressed from the move, you can see how pale they are. It's part of it is the stress response makes their color fade as a security measure so that they're less visible to the predators. And Raminos tetras basically lost their color. Their noses were gray. It was a little scary to watch. And then after some hours, their colors were back and they slowly started to accommodate. This tank was not very different from the old one, so they didn't find it difficult to get used to it. It usually takes maybe a week to 10 days for the fish to feel entirely comfortable. And of course, water testing was necessary just in case. And looks like the apistogrammas are in their highest breeding mode. I've never seen this female as yellow as she is here. And I think the breeding is spurred by the stress. And more plants arrived in the mail to complete the planting. So before planting, I like to soak the plants overnight using no planaria, which is a medicine that kills hydra and other pests. It's safe for the fish, but when I plant next day, I know that there are no hydras or other critters that might harm other microfauna, or even fry. And different types of swords, chain sword and a red flame sword is going to hopefully grow to the larger size and it's going to look spectacular. And thus the gap is looking a little bit smaller, though it's still there. It's kind of a home for apistogrammas to do their thing. There'll be some seed pods and botanicals. So here it is, right after planting. And the next shot will probably be done a few days or maybe a couple of weeks later to see how it all got established.